For me, I feel like the biggest issue, and I love your kind of take on this, Walter. The biggest issue is those organizations that might be startups. Technology might not be their forte. It might be they might be selling. I'd hate to say widgets because that's what everybody else says, but they're selling friendship bracelets or they're selling something online, right? And they're like, well, we're going to start implementing AI to have customer service. Do you have any kind of advice for people kind of in that area where they're not the most technologically advanced? They might, technology is not their bread and butter. Do you see that? And then if not, do you have any kind of words of wisdom for them when trying to implement, a
With respect to AI risk and risk in general, I think understanding what your organization's business needs are is critically important for doing a solid assessment. So, for an organization that is selling friendship bracelets online, some
Which I
key
now
thing
know that my daughter sells widgets, so thank you. It's great. She I have
there
to
you
open
go.
an Etsy
There
shop.
you go. Some key considerations would be, whether our customers are getting what they ordered on time and is it the correct order. So data integrity would seem to be pretty key there, as well as, things like shipping addresses, a confidentiality concern there. So looking at just from a common sense perspective, like what could go wrong for our business, that's a great place to start for doing a risk assessment when it comes to AI or anything else. And then obviously in the more heavily regulated organizations, you can look at the impact of fines, of reputation damage, of
absolutely.
extortion from ransomware, things like
Yeah, no, I like that. So what what could go wrong, I think is the right place to start for any kind of new business or any business that might be thinking of implementing AI, hey, what could go wrong with the data that we're kind of sending across the wire here? When you mentioned HIPAA and you mentioned BAAs and how, you have to have certain things in place for certain regulatory requirements. But not everybody needs that, right? So it is more along the lines of them having to kind of think about their data, which I think is great. And Frank and I had talked about this on previous podcasts where, our previous episodes where, not everybody needs to be super tech savvy, but if you want to start a business, it's almost impossible to do it without some kind of digital footprint, right? And so now it's almost
Unless you're
becoming,
Amish.
yeah, that's your homage.
Although a
That's right.
lot of them now have digital footprints too. I'm
They
seeing
they
them
have
walk that
cell
line
phones.
more and more
Yeah,
every day.
I've seen them with cell phones. But anyway, so with that, I feel like now AI is like that new. It's like the new thing. It's like yes, you need a digital footprint, and also you got to have some kind of AI implementation. That's not necessarily true for everybody, obviously, but that I feel like that is the sentiment that's kind of spinning around. So I love your response there. I think that what could go wrong. That's the perfect question to kind of anybody, and I feel like that's anything that anybody can kind of answer when it comes to any of their stuff.